All right, so welcome to the deep dive, and today we're going to be exploring this fascinating encounter between Karoline Leavitt, she's this young leader who's very much driven by her faith, and a TV host who is known for, well, let's just say, his strong opinions.
Right.
And the source material we're looking at captures this really tense moment after Leavitt's press conference where the host aggressively challenges her to take off a necklace, like a symbol of her faith.
Yeah, yeah.
What's really interesting here is that it's not just your typical political clash. It's about how this woman with like deeply held beliefs responds to a direct attack on her faith.
Mhm.
So how does she turn like a moment of potential humiliation into a powerful display of grace and conviction? That's what we're diving into today.
Yeah, and what really stands out to me right off the bat is how this seemingly simple thing, this necklace, it becomes this lightning rod for this much, much larger conversation about faith, respect, and the courage to be yourself, especially when you're under pressure.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Our sources, they paint this picture of Caroline as someone who's like always been very rooted in her faith.
Mm.
She grew up in a family where it wasn't just a Sunday thing, right? It was like, it was part of everyday life.
Mm.
So picture this, right? She's like fresh off this press conference talking about, unity and free speech. And all of a sudden she's confronted by this TV host.
Yeah.
And he just points at her necklace and barks, "Take it off." It's, you can feel the tension like radiating from the source material.
Oh, totally. It's such a calculated move, right? He's trying to put her on the spot, make her choose between her faith and how she looks in public. It's like classic, gotcha journalism where they just want that viral soundbite, no real dialogue.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, okay, put yourself in Caroline's shoes for a sec. Like, how would you react? I mean, most people would either get defensive or, just crumble under that kind of pressure.
Ah.
But Caroline, she doesn't do either. She takes a breath and responds in this way that totally like flips the script. Instead of like getting all flustered, she just calmly asks him, why her necklace bothers him so much,
Yeah.
Like, is it really the jewelry itself or is it what it represents?
It's brilliant. She reframes the whole attack, right? Like instead of defending the necklace, she's forcing him and everyone watching to confront like the real issue, the intolerance that's underneath his demand.
Exactly. She takes the focus off, this piece of metal and puts it on something much bigger, like respecting individual beliefs. It's not about fashion anymore.
Right.
It's about the right to express your faith without being like shamed or silenced.
And that's where, her upbringing really comes through, right? She's not trying to like convert anyone or preach. She just explains that her faith gives her strength, something that helps her through tough times. And it's a very personal thing that anyone can relate to, regardless of what they believe.
Yeah. It's like she's saying, look, we all have things we draw strength from.
Yeah.
Like, could it be family, art, nature, faith, whatever? This is mine. And, it's not about you.
Exactly. And that's how she avoids getting, bogged down in a theological debate and instead opens the door to understanding, right? Because who can really argue with finding comfort and support when you need it?
Yeah, it's something everyone's been through, right? And being able to say that so clearly in a situation like that is what's so remarkable. She's not demanding agreement, she's demanding respect.
Yeah, and it totally has an impact, right? Our sources describe how the whole energy of the room changes. People are actually listening. Even the TV host, who just moments ago seemed so intent on provoking her, is taken aback.
It's like he came looking for a fight and instead got a masterclass in grace under fire.
Right.
So how did she do it?
Yeah.
Let's break it down a little.
Okay, so one thing that stands out is how she uses these personal stories, weaving in things from her life, to show how her faith has shaped her actions and choices. She talks about, her faith being a source of strength during her darkest times and how it inspires her to be kind and compassionate to others.
It's so effective because it's not just some abstract idea anymore, right? We see her faith in action. It's not just beliefs, it's a lived experience.
Exactly. It's not just what she believes. It's about how those beliefs, translate into how she acts in the real world.
And she even connects it to her work, saying her faith influences every decision she makes and every policy she supports. It's not something separate, It's part of who she is, both personally and professionally.
Yeah, that's really important, especially for anyone who, struggles with bringing their whole selves to work, Caroline shows that you can be authentic without preaching or judging others.
Okay, so let's pause here for now.
So, picking up where we left off, one of the most powerful things Caroline says is when she addresses, how the TV host is trying to trivialize her faith.
Right.
She actually says, and I'm quoting here, "You want me to take it off? My faith. That's what this necklace represents. My faith, my relationship with God, my strength."
Hmm.
It's like she's holding up a mirror to his prejudice, making him actually acknowledge what he's asking her to do.
Yeah, it's powerful, She's refusing to let him reduce her faith to something superficial, something you can just, toss aside.
Right.
She makes it clear that her faith is like part of who she is, not just some accessory.
And she doesn't stop there.
Right.
She goes on to ask, are you really angry about a piece of jewelry or about what it stands for? It's
Yeah.
such a brilliant question, right? It exposes the real bias behind his demand. He's not bothered by the necklace itself. He's uncomfortable with what it means to him.
It's amazing how she uses his aggression against him, turns the tables completely.
Yeah.
She's basically saying, if you want to talk about my faith, let's have a real conversation, but don't, pretend this is about a necklace.
Exactly. And this is where her mother's teachings about living with conviction really shine, Even when no one else understands, Carol, embodies that in this moment, she stays calm, composed, unwavering, even with all this hostility.
I think a lot of people, myself included, would have trouble staying so poised in a situation like that.
Oh, for sure.
It's like she's drawing on this deep well of inner strength
Yeah.
and, a strength that comes from her faith and how she was raised.
That's right. And she doesn't just, deflect the attack. She goes on to explain what the necklace means to her.
Right.
She talks about it being a reminder of the strength she found in her darkest times, a symbol of the values she tries to live by. Love, kindness, the inherent worth of every person.
Those are values that go way beyond any one religion or belief system,
Absolutely.
She's tapping into something universal, something that connects us all.
And that's how she bridges the gap between herself and those who might not share her faith, right?
Yeah.
She acknowledges that not everyone will agree, but emphasizes the importance of mutual respect.
That's so important, right?
Yeah.
She's not demanding that everyone, convert to her way of thinking.
Yeah.
She's just asking for the same respect she's willing to give.
Exactly. She's demonstrating that you can be firm in your beliefs without being intolerant or judgmental.
Right.
It's like finding that balance between staying true to yourself and respecting that others can have different beliefs.
And in that moment, it's not a clash of ideologies anymore. It becomes a conversation about, what it means to be human. It's like she's saying, look past the labels and the symbols. Let's talk about what it means to be kind, to be compassionate, to treat each other with dignity.
It's a powerful message, especially in a world that feels so divided these days.
Yeah.
Caroline reminds us that there's still room for understanding, respect, even grace when we disagree.
So she's turned this personal attack into a broader conversation about values. But it's not just her words that are having an impact.
Right. Our sources talk about her demeanor throughout this whole thing.
Yeah.
They describe her as having this steady resolve,
Yeah.
Even with all the tension, she has this disarming smile.
Yeah.
She doesn't flinch. She doesn't back down. She meets the challenge head on with grace and confidence.
It's like her body language is saying it all.
Right.
Right. She's not intimidated. She's not playing the victim. She's standing her ground. And that in itself is powerful.
Absolutely. Her nonverbal communication is just as important as her words.
Yeah.
It reinforces her message of strength and self-assurance. It's like she's saying, you can try to shame me, you can try to silence me, but you won't break me.
And that confidence, it's like it spreads outwards, It changes the energy in the room. She's not just a target anymore. She's like this beacon of courage, someone who inspires others to find their own voice.
It reminds us that real strength isn't about aggression or, being dominant.
Right.
It's about knowing who you are and standing up for your beliefs even when people oppose you.
Yeah.
And that kind of inner strength, it's contagious.
So Caroline takes what could have been a humiliating moment and turns it into this display of grace and conviction that reaches way beyond that press conference.
That's what's incredible about this. It doesn't end there.
Right.
Her words have a ripple effect, They spark conversations about faith, tolerance, respectful dialogue in a society that's becoming more and more fractured.
It's like her response becomes this catalyst for something much bigger. right?
Yeah.
A reminder that we can choose a different path,
Hmm.
a path of understanding and engagement, not division and animosity.
And what's remarkable is that her message seems to resonate with people across ideologies and religions.
Hmm.
It's not just people who share her faith, it's people from all walks of life who, are hungry for this kind of civil discourse.
That's a really good sign,
Yeah.
It suggests that under all the noise and division, there's a desire for something better,
Hmm.
a way to engage with each other without, resorting to anger and personal attacks.
Exactly. People are tired of the shouting and negativity.
Yeah.
They want role models who can show us how to disagree respectfully, how to find common ground, even when we have different beliefs.
And Caroline, in this one short encounter, provides that model.
Hmm.
She shows us that you can be firm in your beliefs without tearing other people down.
Exactly. She shows us that true leadership isn't about power or control. It's about inspiring others to be their best selves, even when things are tough.
So we've seen how Caroline, skillfully handled this confrontation, turning a potential setback into an opportunity to talk about respect and understanding. But what's the lasting impact? How does her story continue? That's what we'll explore in the final part of our deep dive. It's amazing how this one encounter, this whole clash about a necklace becomes this like starting point for this bigger conversation about how we talk to each other, especially when we disagree.
Yeah, Caroline's story, it really shows the power of individual acts of courage,
Yeah.
and conviction. She
Mhm.
didn't set out to become a symbol or, go viral or anything, but her authenticity and her willingness to stand up for what she believes in, even when challenged like that publicly, it created this ripple effect that's still spreading.
And what's so inspiring is that she does all of that without, you know, compromising her values, right?
Yep.
She doesn't water down her faith or try to make it more appealing to her critics.
Right, right.
She owns it, fully and explains why it's so important to her in a way that's deeply personal, but also something everyone can relate to.
Yeah.
It's a key takeaway for anyone listening, I think, Authenticity doesn't mean being agreeable or conforming to what others expect, right? It means being true to yourself, even when it's tough or, it might not be popular.
It's about having the courage to embrace who you are, to stand up for what you believe in, and to do it with grace and respect for others, even those who, totally disagree with you.
Yeah, her story reminds us that we don't have to choose between our convictions and our compassion. We can and should hold both at the same time.
It's about finding that balance.
And I think what's really striking is how Caroline, how she frames her closing argument, She talks about unity, but not as everyone being the same, but as respect for the very things that make us different.
Right.
She says, and I'm quoting here, unity isn't about making everyone the same. It's about respecting the differences that make us who we are. It's so simple, but it gets right to the heart of it.
It really does. She's not asking everyone to agree with her. She's advocating for a society where we can, respectfully disagree, where we can have a dialogue without, personal attacks or trying to silence each other.
Yeah.
And she goes on to say, this necklace, it might symbolize my faith in God, but what unites us as people is much bigger than any symbol.
Mm-hmm.
It's found in how we treat each other, how we listen, how we build bridges instead of, burning them.
Such powerful words and so timely
Yeah.
in a world that can feel so polarized and divided.
Yeah.
She's reminding us of the things that actually connect us as human beings.
Our shared humanity, our capacity for compassion, our ability to listen even when it's hard.
Yeah.
That's what lets us find common ground even when we have very different viewpoints.
Yeah, and what's so inspiring about Caroline's story is that it shows that one person just standing up for what they believe in can make a difference.
Her courage and conviction, they started a conversation that's still going on.
It's a reminder that we all have the power to make a positive impact, even in small ways.
Sometimes all it takes is the willingness to speak your truth, to stand up for what you believe in, and to do it with grace and respect.
Yeah.
That's what Caroline did, and by doing so, she provided a roadmap for others to follow.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Caroline's story,
Mm-hmm.
the question that sticks with me, and I hope with you too, is this, how can we in our own lives embrace the spirit of her response? How can we stand firm in our own convictions while still being open to dialogue, respectful of differences, and committed to building, bridges of understanding.
It's a question worth thinking about, a question we all need to answer for ourselves.
Yeah.
But Caroline's example, it can be like a guiding light, a reminder that even when things are tough, grace and conviction can not only coexist, but they can win.
That's it for this deep dive. We hope that this exploration of Caroline Leavitt's story has given you some insight, some inspiration, and maybe even, a few tools for navigating this complex world with both courage and compassion.